Hello, this is our Rats with Team 4545 League, analyzing the game between Try Anything and Ramrock. This is played in the tiebreak round of Team 52, the under 1800 section. Currently, Black's team leads one game to none, so White is pretty much in a must-win position here because his teammates are going to be playing Black in the last two games. Meanwhile, Black is quite happy with the draw here, so let's see what happens. Okay. Now we have a gambit. Wonderful. Always interesting to see how these things turns out. Lately, we've seen a lot of gambits in these Game of the Week videos, and often Black just kind of falls apart, makes some weakening moves, doesn't catch up in development, and the whole game falls apart. So actually this turns out not to be a gambit. White never plays f3, and but anyway, this threatens to regain the pawn, so let's just see what happens. Okay, White again never plays f3. I don't know if knight c6 is booked, but this seems like a logical follow-up. White's getting some squares for his pieces, getting his development going. So far Black hasn't proven anything yet. And now that tempos the bishop. It might be risky to consider knight e4, even though it guards the bishop, but it might work. But White's choice is fine. The players can analyze knight e4 on their own. Alright. And then we've taken back the pawn. And White's probably a little better here simply because the knight's on a better square and the queen is developed, and his bishop is ready to develop, and then the knight, and Black still has to catch up a little bit, but it's still a lot of chess to be played. Let's see what happens. Okay, logical, preparing castling, and this is good. Put the bishop on the a2 g8 diagonal because that's where the Black king is going to likely end up. Well, we got lag here. It's not drawing my arrow. Come on, put the arrow there. Well, I'm trying to draw an arrow. There it is. Okay. All right. So we got lag to deal with. That's okay. The voice won't lag. Okay. Now White castles, declaring his intentions to assault on the king's side, because that's probably where Black is going to castle, and there he goes. He did. Okay. Now, I'm not quite sure about f4. I guess it does have a purpose. It keeps the Black knight out of e5, which would be an ideal post for it to go to. But as an alternative move, if it'll go back, suppose we let it go to e5 and then just kick it out later. It's just a possibility. Okay, so for instance, knight e2, knight e5, bishop b3. Now Black needs to develop something. Let's suppose he could put the bishop here, but we'll just kick it. Like I say, this is just a possibility. Things that run into my mind, something for the players to analyze. I don't know if it's good or bad. It looks active for White because he's making that knight on e5 find a new home, and if it advances too far, White can maybe start kicking with the pawns. But I can see a few tactical drawbacks here. Here Black is threatening bishop takes e4, followed by knight f2, so White's going to have to do something about that. But this is all not important. It's just food for thought. Okay, so f4. See, the only drawback with f4 is it doesn't develop a piece. That's my rule is always get your men out and then see what else you can come up with. Now, this is kind of a double-edged move. The drawback with this is that it shuts this white squared bishop down a lot. It does at the same time, though, give this bishop some activity. But maybe we could have both. What if we just play the bishop to f5 and get it developed, and if need be, we can exchange it and then play f5. Just an idea. Okay. Oh, I'm on the main line. All right, let's see. So f5, now knight f2. And there's the point of black's f5 to get the queen activated. And I think it's right here that black missed a very nice move. Yeah, he missed a move. He spent about 4 minutes on it. Black, did you consider c5? Look what it does. It's got some tricks. Okay, if white plays en passant, wow. Okay, black has this. Black has this neat little move here. Queen b6, which has a double attack on f2 and b2, and white's in a little trouble here. Okay, so it's just an idea. I guess black missed it, but if so white can't take, so he's got to do something else. But then black has created some ways to start expanding the queenside pawns and getting his pawn storm going, maybe a little quicker than white will be getting his. So c5 probably gives black a little advantage, and he missed it. Okay, let's just go on. Now, this is kind of an interesting turn of the game. The next several moves, there's a few pawn thrusts by black, which are fine, but black is developed pretty much, even though the queen rook hasn't moved yet. It could be considered developed because black wants to open up the A file, and then the rook is ideally placed, so why move it over to E8 and then bring it back where you need it? So black is fully developed. For the same argument, you could say white is fully developed. However, one thing I've said in other videos I've made is before you get your rooks into play, get your minor pieces a little better posted. Okay, and I've circled all of them. This white bishop has really got one square, and it's going to be going there next. But the white knights need to improve their position a little bit. G5 is a hole. We were occupying D4 earlier. Why not go back there? It eyeballs E6 and C6. And then what else can black do to get his guys a little better off? The knight on F7 is kind of stymied there. It doesn't have a great deal of mobility. Maybe if it could maneuver over to C5, it's got to go back to D8, B7, and then C5. And where are my arrows? There they go. Hey, look at that. Wow. All right. So I'm just saying, it's just sometimes the pawns go a little too quick, and you've finally got your open lines, but then your pieces still need a few more moves to start doing something along that line. So it's just an observation. Let's see what happens. Okay, there goes the pawns, and white takes a little preventive maintenance, makes a little square. White could go by here, but the drawback with that is it shuts off this diagonal, and even though that pawn on D5 is in the way, it can open up soon enough, and it actually does. Okay, so that seems a little risky, but maybe it isn't. Now, if I'm black, I want to think about playing bishop B5 or bishop A4 at some point. Maybe trade that bishop off because the white bishop is holding on to A2. That's the first thing I would think of if I'm black here. Doesn't mean it's the best plan. It's just a candidate move, a candidate plan. Okay, let's move on. Okay, knight D4, logical. We're eyeballing these two squares. And let's see. Black plays queen C8. That seems a little slow. The point being that where's it going to go next? If you're going to go to A6 and offer a queen trade? Well, you're trying to checkmate white, I guess. So you're going to go to B7. I don't know what black had in mind. But let's just take a look at bishop A5. Okay, if white exchanges, okay, now there's a threat on the pawn. Okay, now white's got to deal with that. He can play queen B3 or king B1. If he plays king B1, black plays queen A8, and white still has to deal with it. So at some point, white's going to have to play queen B3. And I don't know if it's time for C5 now. The idea being to get the queen to A5 and triple up over here. Maybe black can actually win that pawn and do some damage. I don't know. Something for the players to consider. But bishop A4 was a viable alternative. And let's see. White's other choice is not to improve the position of the back rook, black rook, and not exchange and find something of his own to do. Let's see. We'll just, for the sake of argument, consider h3. The idea being to play g4 and get our guys going. Okay, fine. Queen takes and knight takes, or bishop takes and queen takes, and black goes about his business and still tries to triple up on the open file. So just an alternative line of play. Okay, so queen c8, we'll live with that. Knight c6, that's good. It stops the bishop from getting to a4, and if it's exchanged, that diagonal opens up. Okay, so now black threatens to win a pawn. And that seemed a little risky, but just because it opens up this direct line, let's see, what other choice does he have? You can play knight d8 and pile up on that. Yeah, you can. Play knight b8 and pile up on that knight a little bit more. And what's white gonna do? If you move the knight away, the bishop gets into a4, as I said. If you exchange knights, the threat is to play bishop a4 again. So maybe knight d8's worth something. Okay, so bishop takes, pawn takes, and now why offer a queen trade? Well, it's okay because now a2 is secure. Black shouldn't be losing this, and again, black's playing for a draw. He's starting to use his time. He's down 20 minutes on the clock compared to his opponent. So maybe not that bad of an idea. Okay, now attack the knight. Now that holds it. And it seems like black's about to win a pawn here. Maybe white could have played queen f3, but I think no, he's just going to check and probably eat it. Okay, queen takes, check. Now black's fine here. If black wants to draw to help the team, he can get it. If he wants to try for a win, he has a good chance. The disadvantage is the little time he has left. So offering a queen trade is fine. Just trade pieces down. And like I say, black should be fine here. Black should not lose. But this is a blunder. What black just simply needs to do is bring the rook back to a7, and white's not going to win this. White's down a pawn. I was just fiddling around with a little bit. The only thing I can think of for white to try to get anything done is to redeploy that knight, but then black starts improving his position. You know, g6 was played to break the pin, and then now knight d5, and black can even give back the pawn and not be the worse for wear. Okay, watch this. Takes and takes, and we do this, and black can probably get away with rook e8 here, even give up the pawn on c5 just to come down to the 7th rank. See, rook e8, and it probably has other moves too. You know, that 7th rank is worth a lot. What's white going to do? His pawns are starting to fall. So if he plays back here, I don't know. Maybe this is too much fantasy. It's a long extended variation. I don't know. Maybe black is going to get some counterplay over here, and he better quick because white's going to start running the pawn. But again, there's a good chance black can draw this. Okay, let's just go back and see what happens. Going to have to wrap this up. The time's running out. Now that pin, this is just becoming a killer position for white. Black needs to think about g6 and king g7, but then his knight just walks into another pin, and like I say, it's just gruesome, and white's definitely winning here. If bishop takes, pawn takes, and the king can't move because then you play e6 and win it, and if you do nothing, let's just waste a move here. We just play this. Now where's the knight go? Here? Fine. Check. and wins. So black just kind of falls apart really quick here. Knight takes, and now you've dropped a clear piece, and the king tries to get away from the discovered checks, but this seems to force mate. I don't see how black avoids a mate. If rook here, we have mate and one, boom. So great game by white. Black, you were close. You just used a little too much time, and you lost on time. I want to thank everybody for their time. I hope you enjoyed this game. See you next time.